A lovely festive season to everyone. Welcome to the Real Talk Show. I hope everyone else is okay. It's a good afternoon to those in the Central African time. It may be a good morning elsewhere, good evening elsewhere. We are happy that you've joined us today. It's yet another Friday where we're having valuable conversations that are definitely life changing and are informative. I would love to let everyone know as we begin the session, in as exciting and as informative as this session is going to be. Apparently, it's not unfortunately because we're definitely coming back next year. This is our last show for the year 2022, and next year is a few days from today. So expect the show to begin again early January so that we can continue with conversations and definitely have amazing conversations as we go through. With me, as always, we definitely have amazing guests who have good conversations with that all of us can definitely engage. So, be it you are on Facebook, you're watching this on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, just kindly engage with us. But of course, we do have our smartly dressed sign interpreter as always, as graceful as he is, Paul, with us. And we have our guests, and they're definitely going to introduce themselves. But as you might be aware, through the different interactions that I believe you have seen around today, we're talking about safe sex. All right, interesting conversation. I believe we got very good reactions on Facebook when the topic was actually posted. We're talking about how can we make condoms more sexy. I believe someone just had a light moment upon me saying that. So we're going to go to a quick round of introductions. Some faces may be familiar here to all of us. So I think we're going to start with Iga. Just a quick introduction about you as we get on with the show.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for the warm welcome. Super excited to be here. I think, but the real talk show has been this one big experience for me this year, and I'm excited and looking forward to so much more coming up next year. My name is Iga Kapambwe. I'm a student of law. I'm also a mental health activist, and I'm passionate about the youth and every dynamic that has got to do with the growth of young people. So anywhere where there's a conversation that has got to do with the growth of young people, I'm ever happy to be around. So thank you so much.
Perfect. That's definitely eager for you. A student at heart and passionate about young people. Can you have an introduction from Christabel?
Okay, thank you so much and good afternoon. My name is Christabel Hanongo. I work with an organization called Contact Pursuit Association in Livingston. I'm very excited to be on this show today, and I hope we'll be able to share information with our fellow young people around the country and outside. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Isabel. As youthful as this panel that we'll have today is definitely a youth-based conversation, I should believe. So, looking at the topic that we have, safe sex, how can you make condom use sexy? I think it's been something that's been out there. The concept of safe sex, I think most of us, a number of people have actually heard the term being toasted, either in social media or in conversations or in different youth gatherings, what safe sex is. So I think on this one, we're going to go with ladies first. Christopher, would you kindly just take us to understand the basics of what safe sex is? For any of us to just understand and know what safe sex is.
Okay, so in short, because sex is just sex that will not make you or not put you in any form of danger or make you regret. So when you're looking, self is the total opposite of danger, I should say. So when you look at the danger things or the dangerous things that you'll find in sex is issues like unwanted pregnancy, um, STIs, and even HIV, and even just the mere regret of having done the act. Is once you regret having done it, then it wasn't safe in the first place because there are certain things that will make you to start regretting. So when we are talking about safe sex, we are looking at a human being able to look at whatever it is around them that would make it safe. That is the environment, the person they are having it with, how they are having it, and then they feel okay after doing it. I think those things should come before they act, not something that comes later on. So you think about having it safe, you plan to have it safe. That means that you look at all those aspects: the person you're having it with, where you're having it, from, why you are doing it in the first place. Is somebody forcing you to do it, or are you doing it with a conscious mind? All those aspects. So I think that's my simple explanation of what sex is. Oh, by the way, we're talking about sexual intercourse here, and not just a mere state of being male or female. Because sometimes, as young people, we love to be very political and say, no, sex is just a state of being male or female. So we're trying to put it in plain black and white that we are basically talking about sexual intercourse. Thank you very much.
I absolutely find it interesting that you went in Mao and actually stated that with safe sex, it's just not things you must consider that are in the environment, but also your mental state of being as something you should consider before actually having, that being a component of safe sex. That's rather unveiling and a whole piece of good information right there. Iga, maybe just to add on and respond to what makes sex safe, because I mean, as young people, we definitely do have the numbers, and it's actually evident that we are, people are engaging in sexual activities. So maybe the question is, after having an elaborate piece of information from Christabel about what safe sex is, interesting enough, she even mentioned it also has to do with the state of mind. What would
Yeah.
then do you feel makes sex safe?
Uh, Thank you so much, Enoch, and thank you, Christopher, for that elaborate explanation of what safe sex is. So, allow me to pick it up from where Christopher ended. As she has said, first of all, safe sex is deciding to protect yourself from sexually transmitted infections. And I'm very, very happy as well that she actually touched on the part of the mental health aspect, because I was definitely going to bring that up. So, firstly, we also have to look at what is your state of mind at the time that you're deciding to be, are you going to regret? Will you live to regret that moment? She also spoke of unwanted pregnancies. And also, another aspect I'd love to bring in is that of consent. You know, uh, this is widely said. It has to be known. It has to be put out there. Any sex without consent is rape. It doesn't matter how many times you had sex with a person, as long as this particular time they have told you they're not willing to be, engage with you, our laws say that that type of sex is rape. So, despite how excited we may be now that we're in the festive season and we want to engage in different, and also let's talk about defilement as well. So, while you might think, oh, we have had sex, I've had sex with this person without their consent. I've had sex with a person that's below the age of 16, you are in danger of being arrested. I wanted to put that out there because I feel it's important. So what comprises safe sex are all of these things that we have in place, stuff like condoms that protect us from the aftermath of uh, the sexual activity. So you look at all of these concepts that we have and are about to discuss. This is what I would say makes up safe sex. So there's condoms, there's contraceptives, there's laws that protect people from rape, defilement, misuse, any sexual abuse. I feel all of these are important and they comprise safe sex.
Great. So I think as we are having these conversations today, as we're literally discussing the topic of safe sex, to all of our viewers watching us from different locations, you can also just get in contact with us. You can get engaging in the conversation by commenting, obviously, so that we can definitely be able to read out your comments and your questions, that we can just engage in this conversation and have this productive conversation, yet informative as it is. So I think I'll just read out one comment, for example, that we have displayed already by Hope Malambo, and she says, "I personally think safe sex is sex you have more control over in terms of your emotional, mental, health and physical health. That's just obviously alluding to what Christabel actually said earlier, which is very, very positive information that we must actually have this at this particular time. Also important to note, Iga actually added the fact that it's festive season, so obviously we're excited, but it's actually key for us to pay attention to consent that he actually spoke to. So I think we're going to have Christabel respond to the concept of, in as much as we're having sex, there's this aspect of condomizing as well, because what we're trying to avoid, therefore, is an STI or a pregnancy that is unwanted. So as a measure of safe sex that Iga spoke to, that of condomizing, maybe the question is, because we have people with reserved comments, reserved thoughts and opinion about it, how can make sex and condoms interesting? The usage of condoms when it comes to the practice of having self-sex? How can you make the usage of condoms interesting? Christabel, can you take us through that?
Okay. So we want to assume that the people that are having sex are people that are in a relationship, and before they have the sex, it means they've been having conversations. Okay, so it's very important that people do talk about the use of condoms in relationships. They agree on probably even the brand. Okay, the brand itself, because there are some brands that are quite interesting, that are more attractive. Probably they have different scents and stuff like that. Preferences, okay? And then what is important is where most of the young people find themselves in situations where they'll have sex or unprotected sex, and then later on, that's when the thought of a condom comes in. So I think what would make sex with a condom more sexier is actually by talking about the condom before the practice, before the act. You agree, you talk about it, you look at the benefits that you're going to get once you use protection. And probably I'm going to preempt the questions that are coming forward, because when you talk about the condom, this is double protection. You're protecting yourself from an unwanted pregnancy. You're also protecting yourself from STI and even from HIV. So if you're going to decide to talk about condoms after, probably it will be too late because you would have conceived already. So for me, I feel if you're going to talk about use of condoms before the practice or before the act, it makes it more sexier because you are going in with a conscious mind. You know what to expect. You even know to say, okay, this is something that I've consented to, that I'm going to use protection. And probably you discuss, because as two different individuals, you have two different experiences and you have totally different information about even a condom itself. So you share information. If your partner does not know how to use it, and I always encourage uh, females to have a lot of knowledge and even to be the people to introduce condom use in a relationship. It makes a lot of sense because then it gives you control as a woman, because or as a young lady, because you know that you're in control of your body, so you have every right to make certain decisions. So I think I'll leave it there. Then we can continue the conversation.
Very, very interesting. I think she's brought out one important aspect of having conversations before the act as a means to make condom usage and sex much more interesting. I don't think if, would you happen to remember, this is to the guests and everyone else listening, would you happen to remember a time, there was a time when this abstinence conversation was so intense in the country as a means to prevent HIV and AIDS. So we had people coming through personally to our school. There was this man who constantly used to come and you get a condom, lift it up in his hands, and then say, "Do you know what this is?" Then the man would be like, "Yes, yes, yes, it's a condom." Then it was like, "Yes, before you think of anything, use it." I think that's one thing that we definitely have to take note of, the aspect of having conversations about a condom before we have the actual act of sex as a means of practicing safe sex. That would definitely be one thing that's going to make something much more interesting to actually have. So, Iga, as an add-on to what Christabel has added, does safe sex is safe sex only confined to condom usage alone, or it's much more broader than that? I know you kind of touched up a little bit about it, but maybe because someone assuming that someone out there is basically thinking, I think safe sex is mostly condomizing because that's what's mostly public, that's what's mostly available on platforms to get information about. But is is safe sex only confined to proper usage of condoms, condoms being attractive to use? Is it only confined to that space? So maybe you can just shed little bit more light on the same as we proceed.
Okay, thank you so much, Enoch. I want to pick it up from where Christabel ended. She talked about the fact that we need to have conversations. And I think, apart from just being able to negotiate and speak about the use of condoms and agreeing that we want to use condoms as partners, another thing we need to know is get the correct knowledge on how to use those condoms. Because at the end of the day, sometimes we tend to have bad memories as a result of those condoms, bad experiences. Let's say, for example, I use this particular condom because of my own lack of knowledge on how I'm supposed to correctly use that condom. Um, Probably my partner gets pregnant, which I do not want. So here's a situation where I've taken the appropriate measure. I'm looking to use a condom, and then I built this memory as a result of not knowing how I was supposed to use that condom. So we also need to build conversations around the correct usage of condoms as partners. Let's research together while we negotiate. Let's research together and let's look into how or what is the best way, what's the safest way of using a condom. Thank you. Moving on from that, talking about whether or not sex, sex is confined to the usage of condoms. In my opinion and view, I don't think it's confined to the usage of condoms, basically because, as you say, as you heard Christabel define what safe sex is, she talked about so many aspects. She talked about so many concepts that are encompassed or engulfed in the concept of safe sex. She talked about the mental aspect of it. She talked about um, she talked about the aftermath of having safe sex. She talked about unwanted pregnancies. So, in my view, I do not think that safe sex is confined to the usage of condoms. There's other things that we might look at and say, oh, we were practicing safe sex because we did this. For example, maybe contraceptives. The use of contraceptives is protecting you from unwanted pregnancy. That is a component of safe sex as we have defined it.
That's
Can I?
absolutely interesting, Iga. Um, I think to our viewers who are actually, oh yeah, please, if you have a contribution, shoot, let's take it.
Yeah. Yes, I think I'm actually more interested in the contraceptive part. I think it's only because the topic is very interesting and it's actually encompassing a lot of issues that affect us as young people. So when we talk about, I'll briefly talk about the condom. I think condoms have made people look at them in a certain way, probably because of the experiences. So, for example, if you had an experience where a condom broke, you may be a person that will hate a condom for the rest of your life because you think that it let you down. So I think as a young person or as whoever it is that is having sex and wants to protect themselves using a condom, I think it's important to put away those bad memories. Okay. There are a lot of things that we've tried to do and haven't worked out, but we still keep on trying and trying and trying. And since this is something that affects our lives, I think it's very important to put away such bad memories and just try and use it the correct and consistent way. The problem with us young people is that we want to do something right once and then forget about it. So, for example, if today somebody is going to use protection with their partner, they stay in their relationship for a month and they think they know them too well and that they can even have unprotected sex. Then they'll have unprotected sex. The third time they're going to try, they want to protect themselves. And then maybe when they find out that they contracted an HCI, they're going to put the blame on the conduct, okay? And yet it's them that made the mistake. Same applies to contraceptives. Contraceptives are different. They are injectable, they are oral, they are long-term and short-term. So it's very important for somebody to know themselves, first of all. When you know yourself, you know what kind of contraceptive your body is compatible with. And that is with the help of the medical personnel, of course. But you need to know what works for you. And once you know what works for you, you share that with your partner and you know how to protect yourself because contraceptives will help you protect yourself from an unwanted pregnancy. But they may not protect you from STIs. So it depends on what it is that you have spoken about in your relationship. If you're people that are open with each other, you've gone for an HIV test, and probably you constantly go to the hospital for medical checkup, and you think you trust each other so much that you put away the condom and decide to use contraceptives, that is still okay if that is what it means to be safe in your relationship. But if you feel you need to protect yourself from STIs, HIV, and even unwanted pregnancy, and you are sure that that is not a relationship you feel you can risk. Maybe I'm here talking about people that are not married, for example. You're not ready to be a mother yet, or you're not ready to be a father yet. Then condoms should be something that you should consider as a safe measure. I submit. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think just looking at how the conversation is going, we are definitely having an interesting conversation, and the comment section is definitely buzzing with a whole lot of comments. And we only have 10 minutes for the show. So what we can do is, if you have comments, kindly do send them through questions as well. So I'm just going to read out a few, starting with Veronica Tomelo, who actually mentioned that there's more to safe sex than just condomizing. It also involves one's ability to say no whenever they don't want to have sex, whether condom is in question or not. I think that's just one thing that's actually ideal, one thing that's actually added to. Then we've got a question from Chisanga Chilufia saying, kindly explain how PrEP and PEP comes into play with safe sex. I think that aligns to our next question actually that we're actually going to respond to. So just kindly stay tuned in. We are going to come in with the same in responses. And then we also have Emmanuel Paul who's saying, I think the packaging and branding of some condoms is just not appetizing. I like the way it's just not appetizing. So yeah, I think Christopher actually mentioned as a means, we can actually get the concept of better condoms with more lubricant and things like that. At what extent, from Zala, what extent does sex qualifies to be safe sex? This is one thing that we've spoken to, but we'll see how we can encompass it in the next 10 minutes that we have. And then we've got Nino Brown, who's saying some people are scared to even touch a condom, especially the females, because society regards them as sexually active. I feel we need to find ways of appreciating people who are found with condoms and make them feel comfortable for being concerned about their health. Let it be okay to cheat with a condom, for example. That's definitely one question that we have. So because we've got we've got 10 minutes to actually go. I think it's now like 9, right? So we're going to see on how we can squeeze it. So we're going to go to Iga. You're going to take us through on a few common misconceptions that people have about condoms. If you can be exactly brief and exactly to the point with that, that's going to work well for us in this conversation. Then thereafter, we can have Christabel come in with the question of what about contraceptives, we talk about PrEP and papers all coming in conversation before we conclude the conversation. So we're going to go with Iga. Let's just be at least brief, but so that we are able to meet with time. Iga, take it up.
Okay, thank you. In the interest of time, I'd love to speak about two main misconceptions that I have personally experienced. I want to speak about this from my personal experience. One of them is, I think, what Nino Brown spoke about. It's the stigma that comes with being found with a condom. So I go to school and I'm with a condom in my wallet because I'm trying to be safe. So it's normally the stigma is that people that are found with condoms are the most sexually active and they're always ready to have sex. Like they're just out there trying to have sex with everyone. But I feel that shouldn't be the concept. I think we need to accept more the fact that being found with a condom means that you are caring about your health. I think, as Nino Brown said, we need to accept the fact that you fully understand that you're not going to, if at any point you engage in sex, you're not going to risk it and just, engage in unprotected sex. And another thing is bad experiences being shared to other people. If I'm going to have sex using a condom, or maybe uh, I engage in sex and I've not rightly used the condom that I'm using, I will come off that experience and say, condoms are bad. You know, I still use the condom and my partner still got pregnant. So it's all of these misconceptions that come up at the end of the day. You hear it becomes very wide that condoms are bad. So those are some of the things that I can rightly pinpoint and say this is what I feel. You know, most people do not care about condomizing.
Great. Thank you so much, Ika. Then we're going to go to Christabel about contraceptives. I think that's one thing that has been brought out both by the people watching us, people interacting with us, and also as a matter of concern. What about PEP and PrEP? Because people have been hearing about this. What are they? How do they come into play with safe sex? Maybe if you can just again combine that with if you want safe sex, how can you tell your partner without offending them? So let's see if we can work with these two questions in one, and let's see, just trying to beat time on how we can inform the masses, interact with the masses, and also give information.
Okay. So I think we are looking at everybody here. There are people, I'll talk about everything in general. So there are people that maybe were born HIV positive and those that actually probably contracted the virus and they are living an HIV positive life. But still, they are still human beings, they still have feelings, and they still want to have sex. Okay? I'm going to use that as an example. So what is it that is being done to protect these people? Yes, there are condoms, but then there are also situations where some people will be exposed. So PEP is actually a shortcut or an acronym for post-exposure prophylaxis, and PrEP is an acronym for pre-exposure prophylaxis. So post-exposure is where you've been exposed after you realize you've been exposed, and it's a way of protecting you from contracting the virus. And then also I talked about post, right? So now pre-exposure prophylaxis is where you take it when you think you can be at risk of contracting the virus. You protect yourself. Okay? So prophylaxis is basically like it's a treatment that you undertake. Okay, so that can be used in a lot of situations, a lot of circumstances. There are people that will decide to use it because maybe you're in a situation where you're in a relationship with someone and you probably don't trust them enough, or you know that they are HIV positive, but uh, maybe you also know that they don't like using the condom and you've decided to protect yourself that way. Okay, so all these health measures we are talking about are not measures that are imposed on people. These are measures that people decide on their own, depending on what works for you. So we come to contraceptives. Contraceptives, I think I briefly talked about them. I said they are oral contraceptives, they are injectables, they are long term, they are short term. But it depends also on what works for you. So there are some women whose bodies are not compatible to hormonal contraceptives. Okay, when you talk about hormonal contraceptives, most of them are injectable and oral ones. So probably they will be advised to only use the IUD, which is the loop. In short, the common term for the IUD is the loop actually. And then if not, they are only advised to use condoms because those are not hormonal contraceptives. Okay. But there are other things, there are others like the injectables for 3 months, for 2 months, the other ones. Those are hormonal and sometimes your body may not respond properly to them. But again, it's very important to note that those will only protect you from having an unwanted pregnancy, that may not protect you from having an STI or HIV. So how do you talk to your partner without offending them? I think like we said in the beginning that it's very important to have conversations with your partner. I'm sure your partner should be somebody that you're not scared of. Should be somebody you're free to talk to about anything. The fact that you agreed to date them in the first place, the fact that you agreed to be in a relationship with them, it obviously took a conversation, it obviously took negotiation, and then an agreement at the end of it all. So, in short, a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a husband should be somebody that you're free to talk to about anything and should be somebody that cares for you and your well being at large, your health, your mental state, everything about you. So, you talk to them in a way, don't talk about it with stigma, for example. If let's say you're dating a partner that is HIV positive, that's an example that I'm going to give. So if you're dating somebody who is like that and you've not tried to have that conversation before, you really need to be careful how you come out. It should come out not with stigma but with more care. Okay? Have a conversation. Don't wait until you start undressing, then you start talking about condoms. I think that is a have that conversation when you're in good terms, when you're laughing, when you're having a light moment. And then that way you'll be able to educate one another and even to help one another in your relationship without offending each other. I think that's the most practical way that I can say. Thank you.
Very interesting, Christabel. I would love to pick out a few comments as well. Interesting comments coming out. We definitely have Darius saying religious thought leaders must also join in this. Many young people out there are told that if you are not married, don't possess a condom as it is either a sin or may lead to sin. Has that helped? I'm not sure, but I'm certain that 98% of the affected are in this bracket because they fear possessing one or feel ashamed buying one. They end up using any. As religious thought leaders, we can make it clear that sex outside marriage is prohibited, but now get practical to those who, despite knowing this. I think that's very important to note from Darius that as religious leaders, the way we spread out information about this is actually key when it comes to influencing young people and the usage of condoms and them being influential in society. We have got Enoch actually confirming that information shared in today's topic have been of help to me. Great indeed. People watching from different areas. Victoria saying, well articulated, Christabel, thanks for the information. And I think it's at this point that we actually get to learn that through all these conversations that we're having, it's good that we're learning one or two things. It's good that our lives are becoming better with every piece of information that we actually learn. So as we definitely come to an end, Stephen is saying, great program. I'm learning a lot, which is very impressive to hear from Stephen. So what we're going to do is to both Christabel and Iga, there's one additional question that we'll have to respond to as we conclude our conversations today. So as we conclude our conversation, what would be appreciated of both of our guests is to firstly speak of one thing that they would love a listener to learn from today's conversation. Then when that is done, they can actually speak to, because it's a thing of information, people being informed. Where do you think people can actually acquire information about safe sex and condom usage and about all these other related aspects that just come in the aspect of safe sex? We're going to start with help me pick. We're going to start with Iga, and then we're going to move to Christopher. So Iga, you're going to take it up for us as we conclude.
Okay, yeah, you spoke about the first thing that I would love a listener to learn today, right? Okay, so I think the biggest takeaway right now is most especially that this is the festive season. We need to practice as much statistics as possible. We're not going to run away from the fact that people will indulge so much in sexual activities during this festive season because we're celebrating and we're excited. So let's, uh, you know, practice safe sex and remember that engaging in safe sex does not make you a Kembo. Uh, you are still a man, you're still a woman, and you're very much reasonable for deciding to protect your health. Uh, where can you get help? You know, you can go to any health facility near you. I'm very confident that you will find people that are trained, very well trained, and they will give you enough information about how you can practice safe sex. And if you want to collect PrEP, is it PrEP? Visit health facilities and you will get enough information. I'm one of those people that have, at some point in this year, I became deliberate about, learning about these sexual practices, sexual reproductive health. I decided I was going to be deliberate. And I hope that one of us here, or two or three people, are going to be deliberate as we are going into the next year and not taking a step to learn about their sexual health.
Great, thank you so much, Iga. We're going to take last two comments, and then we'll move to Christabel. Nino Brown is saying, truly buying cement means you are prepaid to build. And obviously, being found means you are ready to have sex. How do we make our parents feel comfortable with young people being found with condoms? Then we've got Titus speaking to young people and adolescents need to be engaged in this type of matters. As a resident of Senanga district, I'm witnessing high level of HIV infection cases and unwanted pregnancy during these festive times among young people and adolescents. My appeal to you as organization kindly to try and engage some peer educators to go out in communities and sensitize about this, which I definitely believe the Zambia Youth Platform has been active with regards to spreading information about such kind of catchment areas that they actually have. So Christabel, under 2 minutes or 1 minute 30, 40 seconds, kindly run us through one takeaway you'd have a listener to go home with, and also where can young people get this information about safe sex and condoms?
Okay, so one message to go home with is to make sure that you protect yourself with your life. That is jealously. Make sure you know first of all your status. When you know your status, decide which step method are you going to go for. And when you decide on that, also share it because you can't have sex alone. So there's definitely another person involved. Communicate with the other person that you're involved with, what method you want to go with, and why you're deciding to go with that method, so that you're on the same page. I think usually what brings a lot of confusion is all those misconceptions that we talked about, what people think the condom is all about. I've heard from a lot of women that they've had UTIs or urinary tract infection from usage of condoms, which I don't have scientific proof of, but sometimes it's what we have at the back of our mind. So I think that is something that is very important, especially now that we're in the festive season. It's very important that young people, um, even as they decide to have fun, even as they decide to probably indulge in sex, they should have everything as safety. And should they need any information regarding sex, I think our facilities around our districts are very accommodating. We have young people in these facilities. If you're scared of speaking to an elderly person, you can go to a youth friendly space where you find your peers, you'll be able to talk to them, they'll be able to guide you and even give you the necessary information that you need as a young person in regards to safety. Yeah.
Thank you so much. It definitely has been a wonderful space to have such kind of information, especially when it's a festive season. I really, really appreciate everyone who took their time to actually just listen in, to click that link and watch this video with us, to interact by the comment section. Appreciation to the guests that actually came through. It's a festive season. I think one takeaway that I have taken out from this conversation is, can we be deliberate about having information, especially that which lead to having knowledge about sex? I think Iga has alluded much to that, as well as Christabel. So my name is Enoch. I have definitely been your host for this show, and we hope to have you again next year, early next year, because we're definitely coming back, and we're definitely coming back with a huge and big, greater bang to have amazing conversations that are life building for young people, for you, and for me. It has been the Real Talk Show, and we hope to talk to you soon. Thank you as we end today.